On this episode of MythBusters,
Cars, guns, what could go wrong?
Adam and Jamie are on burn notice, testing the myth that to give the bad guys the slip,
Close, but no cigar.
you can bounce a bullet
Awesome! I totally didn't call that.
through the bottom of their car.
Firing! Well, that was a perfect shot.
Meanwhile, Carrie, Tori, and Grant take on some action hero heroics,
Somebody order an explosion?
finding out if the force of a shockwave
He flies through the air without a care in the world.
could push the power of an ordinary jump into a superhuman leap.
I can't tell what happened.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage
70% chance of science.
and Jamie Heineman.
Is that hot enough for you?
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Together with Tori Belleci,
That was insane.
Grant Imahara, and Carrie Byron.
Let's do it.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
Jamie, in your travels, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you're being chased by someone and you're shooting at them to try and stop them from chasing you?
I don't want to talk about it.
I figured you'd say that. There is a story, however, from this show called Burn Notice. In the show, our hero is being chased in a car by another car. And he says that if you don't have an armor-piercing round, you can forget about shooting through the engine or the radiator of your pursuer. But he says that you can, in fact, skip bullets off the ground in through the floor of the car that's chasing you.
Oh, I'm not so sure about that.
And that is exactly why I think it's something we should test.
To delay a pursuer, but leave them unharmed, the tactic is literally underfire.
Ricocheting bullets off the ground up through the undercarriage.
But can you really bounce a bullet up into the underside of a car? Or is this myth on the rebound?
So what kind of gun were they using in that clip? Do we know?
It looks to be a 9mm semi-auto.
Seems to me the first thing we ought to do is see whether that kind of gun would penetrate the bottom of a car.
Excellent. Let's just get out to a shooting range and shoot at the bottom of a car.
Why not?
So at the Yolo County Bomb Range, the MythBusters prepare to take on this myth point blank.
I love the anticipation of shooting at cars.
Yeah. Cars, guns, what could go wrong?
These are our cars. Blue car, good guy, red car, bad guy. Think lightsabers. And this is the orientation they are in the clip. Slightly offset and 15 feet apart.
Now in the clip, the guy says that without a high-powered round, you're not going to get past the radiator or the firewall.
Yep, supposedly the underside of the car is a better target. So first, they'll test that.
We're gonna lift the car up and shoot at point blank range into the floor of the car. See if the bullets make it through. I know that they're supposed to have skipped off the ground, but if a direct bullet won't make it through the floor, well, a skip bullet never would.
And to find out if those point blank rounds penetrate,
Very expensive balloons, clearly.
Adam fills the bottom of the car with balloons and then gives the underside of the car a whitewash.
Oh, yeah. That's a clean experimental space.
And the whiteout makes it clear that this bounced round is quite the trick shot.
I'm looking at a whole lot of stuff right here that I've got to get past to get into the cab. Really, the only hope that I have is a spot right about there, which may trim the guy's toenails or something, but that's my only hope.
It's a small window of opportunity. Add with the car at a shallow angle to match the trajectory of a bouncing bullet, it's time for Jamie to take aim.
Shooting at the underside of a car when Jamie's ready. That looked like an almost perfect hit.
Jamie's sharp shooting sends a barrage of bullets right into the sweet spot. And although the rounds are hitting the mark, have they made it through the wheel well?
Oh, I see a hit here.
I've gone through the floorboard here, but not through the carpet, it looks like.
Underneath the car, it looks like most bullets were deflected.
Oh, wait.
There's a pop balloon in here.
But one burst balloon reveals one bullet did make it through.
What does that look like?
That's a bullet.
Yeah, and it made it through the floor and into the cab of the car.
If it made it in through the floor, it could have made it into the guy's foot.
Nice shooting, Tex.
So I was able to get some bullets to penetrate the cab of the car with this 9mm pistol. I went in here, a couple down there, one over there. But keep in mind that this was a direct hit under optimal static conditions.
And that means it is now time to find out whether or not a ricocheting bullet keeps enough energy to still pierce the cab of our car.
Well, round one's over.
Time for ricocheting.
Next, the MythBusters get the jump on Hollywood.
What are you looking so excited about?
All right, we are testing a Hollywood movie myth dealing with explosions.
Great. What is it?
All right, so this comes from a classic action movie where the hero is running from an explosive, and just before it detonates, he jumps with all of his might, and, well, you probably know what happens.
I know, just as he's mid-air, the blast goes off, and the resulting shockwave actually pushes him through the air, giving him a superhuman jump.
Exactly, but is that true? Can a shockwave from an explosion actually push you further than you can jump on your own? Cool.
It's a bombastic scene straight from the blockbusters. Escaping an imminent explosion, the hero leaps into the air. And the force of the blast gives them a superhuman boost. But are these filmic physics bang on? Or is this a mission implausible?
All right, so obviously we're gonna need a human stand, and I'm not exactly comfortable with any of us getting exposed to a shockwave.
Well, sounds like a job for Buster. I think the first order of business is to rig him so he can jump.
All right, well, why don't you figure out a way to get him to jump, and while you're working on that, you and I can find out how far he should jump.
So hit the track for a little data collection, maybe check out some jump distances, hang time.
Exactly, little jump and fact-finding missions.
So to jumpstart the myth, Carrie and Tori need to find out the average distance and hang time of a regular long jump.
Get in strong. Ready to go jump?
Absolutely.
We've come to the track at the College of San Mateo to test the myth that the shockwave from a bomb can actually extend your jump.
Now, there is no way we're gonna be jumping anywhere near an explosion, but Buster needs to do it. So we need to get a benchmark on how far he needs to jump. So we're here to get some expert training from champion long jumper, Joy Upshaw. She's good, real good.
She is. But first, Joy needs to put a spring in their step with a warm-up
I'm beyond warm, I think I'm hot now.
before they're ready for parameter number 1, how far the average Joe can leap.
All right, let's see you do it.
Joy demonstrates exactly how it's done. And she makes it look easy.
Wow.
Then it's over to the first contender.
All right, Carrie, this is your long jump. You get 3 attempts, and then we're gonna average all 3. Are you ready?
Yes, here we go.
All right, Carrie, get those legs up.
Carrie gets a run-up and then leaps for all her worth.
Oh my God, I think we've just seen a new world record.
I think I got 9 feet with my new technique.
Good
That
job.
looked
Good
painful.
Job, girl. Painful?
I mean graceful.
Graceful.
Well, with 2 more jumps, Carrie's form improves, and so does her distance.
Carrie, you went 10 feet. You've increased your distance.
Right.
Carrie has just finished all 3 of her jumps, and she came away with a 9.5 feet average. That is incredible, considering the fact that she's not that athletic, she's very uncoordinated, and she has a bum knee. It's my turn next.
It's not a competition, Tori. It's about data collection and setting the average Joe leaping benchmark.
All right, time to get in the zone.
Is he putting on a headband?
Yes, he is.
All right, I'm in the zone.
Balachi takes his run-up,
Run, run, run.
and he really goes the distance.
Oh, I got sand in my pants.
Whoa, that was about 16 feet.
Do it remind you of Michael Jordan, all that air?
2 more jumps.
Yeah.
And the data on distance is in.
All right, your average is 16 feet, mine is 9.5.
Good job, you guys.
All right, well, why don't we look at the high speed and see how much hang time we're actually getting?
Yep, just as important as the average distance is the average hang time of the jumps.
You know, after looking at the high speed, I have to say I've never seen form quite like yours, Carrie.
But look, you got in the air, got some height there.
That's form.
But the hang time isn't looking good. Even with Tori airborne for 0.5 of a second, getting the timing right in full scale is going to be tough.
You know, between the two of us, we're talking about an average of 12 feet and only half a second in the air.
Yeah, you know what? That is not going to give us much time to get Buster in the air and then halfway through the jump set off an explosion.
Half a second is not enough time to combine both the jump and the blast. But Carrie may have a solution.
Now, we did come out here to find out what the average long jump would be from an average person. And between Tori and I, our average is about 12 feet. When you look at that on the high speed, that's not even half a second of hang time. That's a very small window to actually trigger everything that needs to happen, the jump and the bomb. So I think we might have to go with something that gives us more hang time. Maybe a Olympic world record or something like that. Something with like, oh, I don't know, double the hang time of what we can get.
Doubling their hang time is crucial. After all, in this myth, the hero is leaping for their life, making this an extraordinary jump.
God, I think I'm gonna be sore tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Who knew it was going to hurt this bad? Hey, thanks, Joy, for your help.
See ya. Oh, God.
It's a big bounce from the small screen.
For sheer panic, it's hard to beat bullets coming up from the floorboards.
But can a bullet on the rebound really shoot through? Well, so far,
What does that look like?
this myth is not looking like a long shot.
Having successfully pierced the postage stamp sized target of the wheel well of our chase car, it's now time to find out if we can get underneath there with a Ricochet bullet. So we've come out here to this runway in lovely Tracy, California. We're gonna start firing some bullets into the ground and see what kind of predictable behavior we can expect from those bullets after they bounce.
That's right, they're looking for the bullet bounce butter zone to find the optimum angle and bullet speed for big scale. So using the cars to map out the trajectory of the clip, Adam sets up a remote rig for the firepower and gets an angle on the angle of the gun.
Pretty good. So at what angle do we begin shooting into the ground? The first shot is going to be at what I'm going to call the intuition angle. If I was this guy, this is the angle at which I feel like I would have to hit the ground in order to bounce it correctly into the wheel well of my assailant. Turns out it's about 16.5 degrees. Am I right? I have no idea, but it's as good a place as any to begin.
It's the natural place to start their rebound analysis. So Adam sets up a backboard to track the angle of the Ricochet.
All right, for our first intuition shot, I'm going to load this copper jacketed cartridge into the gun, and we're going to fire it. Guess I'll have to move that way. Excellent. For those of you playing at home, you can stay where you are. The gun is hot in 3, 2, 1. Well, that was a perfect shot.
A perfect shot and a perfect bounce.
The bullet hit perfectly in the center of our white box. That's great.
And based on the bullet hole in the backboard, Adam can get the angle.
All right, the bullet was aimed at the ground at a 16.2 degree angle, and after it hit the ground, it left at 9.95 degree angle, just a little bit more than half of the angle.
A little bit more than half. But the question is, did the bullet lose power after its rebound from the ground?
1 + 1 = 2.
Here's the thing, the bullet is hitting the ground at 1,200 plus feet per second. It's leaving the ground at 962 feet per second. That is a lot of energy still in that piece of metal.
Yeah, that's not a lot of loss. Well, let's try a steeper angle.
Yep, it's going to take a few more tilts at bouncing bullets before the MythBusters have the ins and outs of Ricochet dynamics.
This is test number 2 at 32 degrees.
Gun is hot in 3, 2, 1. Whoa, whoa. Very interesting. Another shot where I hit exactly where I wanted to. Well, that's unexpected. The Ricochet angle is pretty much exactly the angle that it hit the ground at, like a mirror. It hit at 32 degrees and it bounced at 32 degrees. I would not have called that. That is weird.
Weird, and it's plain that the sharper angle has had another important impact on the bullet.
Entry speed's the same as its predecessor. Exit speed is 475 feet per second. It's lost almost 2/3 of its energy hitting the ground at that angle.
That puts it down, I think, around 300 miles an hour, which you wouldn't want to get hit by, but I don't know whether that's going to penetrate steel or not.
Yeah, it's a lot of lost energy.
At this point, one thing is perfectly clear. The steeper the bullet hits the ground at, the more energy it's going to lose in that transaction. Now, we need to find a butter zone where the angle is not so steep that it loses all of its energy, but it's steep enough to get where it needs to go underneath the car.
And to round out the angle of their automatic dangle,
Gun is hot.
they're trying a much shallower 8 degrees.
3, 2, 1. Oh, I hit a little bit forward of where I expected. Bullet hit the asphalt at 8 degrees and ricocheted off of it at 5.1 degrees. Some data right there.
This time the angle was less acute, but interestingly, the bullet hit the board traveling at 1,130 feet per second, the fastest speed yet. So what does that mean for bouncing bullets?
1. Behind me, I've got 2 cars, a gun position, and 3 shots in the ground, and a bunch of bullet angles to work out. Now, I could have the editors do it graphically for me. Hold on. But that only helps you understand what's going on. I want to understand what's going on here and now. So I'm actually going to draw all those angles in a brightly colored string.
Like something out of CSI, our pink plotting spider is tracking all the angles of the bullets to work out where they should hit the car. And it's clear from the outset that one angle is not going to work.
I think right off the bat, looking at this extreme angle and the amount of power we lose, we should chuck the 32-degree angle.
I agree.
All right.
Keep going.
But the 16-degree angle hits the target.
Oh, Jamie, that looks really good.
I gotta say, coming into this, I didn't think we'd be able to get a steep enough angle to get up and into the car, but looks like I was wrong.
Their angle of aim is determined, but there's still one more test for the bouncing bullet.
This right here, it's actually cut from the wheel well of the car that's chasing us. We're going to ricochet a bullet into it to see if 75% of its original energy is enough to pierce this steel plate. Oh, and all the padding that's behind it. Ricochet shot into firewall. I'm excited about this one.
3, 2, 1, fire.
Perfect hit!
Firing at 16 degrees, the bullet bounced and hit the board at 10 degrees. But did it have the power to penetrate?
Oh!
And it went through.
Oh, yeah. Dude, look at that. Even the ricochet shot went through all the padding and heat shielding and the firewall.
That would have hurt.
That is awesome. I totally didn't call that. Our bullet may have lost 25% of its energy, but that was still plenty to pierce the steel footwell and make it all the way through this piece of 3/4 inch heavyweight chipboard. And there it is. Now, if you remember in the original clip, he claims the bouncing bullets off the footwell are an excellent distraction. I would have to agree.
Yep, the 16-degree bullet not only bounced in the right trajectory, but it also retained enough power to penetrate. So it's time for this myth to hit the road. In this explosive surf's up myth, a hero leaps at the last second, and supposedly by catching the shockwave, his jump is amped up to the superhuman. After Athletics 101,
How do you do it?
it seems the hang time duration of an ordinary jump is not long enough for a blast. So they're turning to the extraordinary.
Now for this test, we're going for world record territory. In a long jump, that's approximately 25 feet for women and 29 feet for men. That should give us about a second of hang time. That'll make it a little bit easier for Buster to still be in mid-air after we launch him for us to set off the bomb. That means that we have a benchmark for at least 25 feet for Buster.
But Buster isn't an elite long jumper, so he's going to need a boost.
Since Buster can't jump on his own, we need to help him by giving him both upward and forward momentum. And to do that, we're gonna use this nitrogen cannon.
And if it looks familiar, that's because it is.
You may recognize the nitrogen cannon from its original myth, which was the Batmobile. You may also recognize this from Knock Your Socks Off. But you know who remembers this cannon the most? Our neighbors. Roll that tape.
I just wanted to let you know I had a little accident in the shop. I punched a small hole through the wall.
Since the cannon will ultimately be just a hop, skip, and a jump from an explosion,
It'd have to be so heavy.
for its own protection, it gets a full metal jacket.
There it is.
It's beautiful.
Hello.
Cannon in a box.
Then Tori turns his attention to Buster, fitting him with a strategically placed rod that will launch him at the perfect angle from the cannon.
Oh! Landed it.
With the rig set,
Sometimes you just need a cape.
will Jumpin' Jack Flash's leap match the professional jump distance and hang time that they need? Grant charges Nitro to 1,500 PSI,
All right, ready for the Naked Avenger.
and Buster is ready for jump-off.
3, 2, 1.
He flies through the air without a care in the world. All right, let's see how far he went.
At 32 feet, Buster's rear boost was a little too energetic.
He actually smashed into the top of the shelving.
So they dial Nitro back for launch number 2.
All right, here we go. 1,000 PSI. 3, 2, 1. I think that's it. Cool.
This time, at around 60% of the PSI, Buster flew 25 feet, within the professional range they were looking for. And the high speed confirms a 1-second hang time.
All right, well, that was a near perfect flight.
But for due diligence, they try multiple jumps. And each time, the Nitro cannon gets them the perfect combination of distance and hang time.
So setting the air cannon at 1,000 PSI is giving us a consistent jump, sending Buster 25 feet. That's good enough for an elite jumper. That's good enough for an action hero.
And it's good enough to bring on the booms. Usually, in a car chase shoot-'em-up, the shooters aim at each other. But this myth is all about taking them out with a sneaky undershot.
Fire!
So far, the MythBusters have gotten the mythical bullet bounce.
Oh!
And it went through.
But will that change when they start ricocheting in motion? Well, to find that out, Adam and Jamie have to track the trajectory of the bouncing bullet at 40 miles an hour.
Only 6 feet away from the truck.
Well, no, I'm just extrapolating.
So they've puzzled out an ingenious solution.
This is the rig that we have designed to find this out. It's effectively a trailer, except that it's an open frame. Mounted to one rail, our high-speed camera. Mounted to the other, a measurement gauge. To make sure that the bullet hits the ground precisely where we want it to and at the angle we need, we're going to have our gun hard mounted to a mast in the bed of the pickup truck. All we need to do is get this rig up to 40 miles an hour, fire this gun, catch it on high speed, and we will learn whether or not that 40 miles an hour makes a difference to the exit trajectory.
It's got to do a complicated job, but it's a simple build. And in no time at all, they're back out at the range with a lime rig ready for the limelight.
Awesome, look at that. It's like it was designed for it.
So to find out if the bullet will still bounce at speed, what's the plan?
This is how our traveling bullet rig is going to work.
While Jamie gets the truck up to 40 to 45 miles per hour, I'll be sitting in the back, protected by this bulletproof shield. When we get to the right spot, I will pull this string, firing the gun.
And when the bullet hits, right around here, we're going to be recording it on the high-speed camera.
Then we're going to crunch the numbers, and at that point, we will know whether the gun moving 40 miles an hour over the ground affects either the exit trajectory or speed.
Yep, this is where the lead hits the road at the best-case scenario angle of 16 degrees.
Rolling gun test.
3, 2, 1, go.
But will the road ricochet change its trajectory and speed? Jamie guns the truck to the speed from the clip and gives Adam his cue.
You're at 45.
Here we go.
Firing! All right, the gun is fired.
The bullet fired, but how did it bounce?
I think that worked perfectly.
Let's see where it hit.
There it is. Pretty much exactly where we expected it to hit. Let's review the high speed and see what the data says.
Yeah.
And it turns out that everything worked like clockwork.
Excellent. We caught it. That's beautiful.
Even with the rig traveling at 45 miles per hour, amazingly, they captured the split-second skip. And crucially for the myth, The bullet rebounded at 950 feet per second and at a 10-degree angle, exactly matching the static results.
This one is cool, dude. I mean, having tested all the constituent parts, I wouldn't have called this, but I'm starting to think that this thing might actually be plausible.
Well, let's put everything together and go full scale.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so now we've got Buster rigged so he can jump with the distance and hang time of an Olympic athlete. What's next?
I think maybe we should set Buster about 50 feet away from the blast, just like you would see in any typical action movie.
Sounds like a solid distance.
And then when he's halfway through his jump, we set off the explosion and see if the shockwave will push him any further than if he could jump on his own power.
Cool, but I've got one addition. You know in the movies how they use all different types of explosives, different sizes of blasts? Why don't we do multiple blasts and increase the explosive each time depending on the result?
I'm not gonna argue with that.
Me neither.
That's the plan. And to begin the Blockbuster Blitz, where better than Angel's Camp Quarry?
This is the best location.
The home of some of the biggest bangs in MythBusters history.
So curious to see if this actually works.
Leaping dummies and explosions. I mean, I can't think of anything better.
It's a bombastic combo. But before Buster gets a leapin', Tori needs to make the earth smooth.
Couple more digs and we're there.
Since the nitro cannon will be boosting Buster from ground level, it needs to get down and dirty.
Perfect!
Perfect and protected from the explosive action. But to time the jump and blast just right, Nitro is going to need a very tricky trigger.
Now this right here is the trigger for the cannon. When Frank initiates the blast, it's going to come down the line of shock tube and split in two directions. The first one's going to come over here, that hits this switch, that fires the cannon. The other side of that goes over to the explosive through a delay cap that's going to delay it half a second to let Buster get to the top of his arc before it fires off the explosion.
Once the trigger is taken care of, enter the stand-in action hero.
He's on. And he's standing. Proud. Wait, why are we dressing him like a commando?
And with Buster in position, the first order of business is to check the timing on Grant's trigger.
Okay, we're at 1,000 PSI.
And find out how far Buster jumps without explosives.
Good luck, buddy. Think action hero.
In 3, 2, 1.
That looked great.
Hilarious.
So far, so good. Just like the sharp test, the cannon sent Buster flying.
Measure from his hips like the long jump?
But how far?
How far did he go?
27 feet.
At altitude, the cannon gives Buster a little more boost, setting the control at 27 feet. But what about the timing?
So our timing system worked out, which is great news because this experiment is all about timing. As you can see from the high speed, he goes up and the explosive goes off right at the top of his arc. So now it's time for us to load up 10 pounds of C4 and see if our commando buddy can beat 27 feet.
Yep, it's time to add the explosives to the mix. So how's it all gonna go down?
Right here we have the seat of the explosion. We're going to gradually increase the amount of explosives we use. Now over here, we have our commandos on our nitrogen cannon launcher. Now what's gonna happen here is we're gonna launch him up into the air. When he's at about a half second of hang time, we're gonna blast off the explosion.
That's the plan. So it's over to explosives expert Frank to wire up the C4,
Keep that business end pointed away from you.
Okay.
while Grant primes the trigger and the cannon.
Nitrogen is loaded.
This is it, the moment of truth for the myth.
Special delivery.
Will the shockwave from 10 pounds of C4 extend Buster's jump?
Here comes the firing line.
Well, Tori has his doubts.
So my guess is when Buster jumps and the explosion goes off in the middle of his jump, he's only going to go as far as he was jumping. The shockwave is going to do nothing for his distance.
Well, there's only one way to find out. Safely back in the bunker, 1,000 feet away from launch.
I never get tired of this.
All right, arming.
It's time to count backwards from 3.
In 3, 2, 1, fire.
Wow, that happened so fast. Yeah. We're going to have to look at the high speed to see exactly what happened, but I don't know.
Well, it's clear from the high speed that Buster's jump peaked as the shockwave reached him. But did he fly further than 27 feet?
All right, what do you got? 27 feet. So that's a negative on C4.
That's a negative on the C4. But when it comes to myth busting, well, one boom is never enough.
You can definitely feel that thud.
Welcome back to the show. For those of you playing at home, we've been testing the myth that if someone is chasing you in a car and you don't want to kill them by firing bullets through their windshield, you can instead skip bullets off of the ground that will supposedly pierce the underside of the car, distract the driver, make him stop chasing you. So far, we've discovered that bullets bounce off the ground at reasonable angles for this to be possible. That they, in fact, actually can, even after bouncing, pierce the underside of the car. Now we're about to put all of the knowledge we've gathered together into one large, full-scale, full-speed experiment, and we're going to be shooting at this very car. Are you ready?
Definitely. But first, the Mythbusters have to rejig their rig. As this time, it's towing a car, not a trailer. And they need to leave room for the bullet to hit its target.
This arrow right here describes our target sweet spot. This is the bulkhead, this is the wheel well. This little area right here is how much of it is visible to our bullet. That's where we gotta hit, that's our postage stamp.
It's a tiny bullseye for the bullets, so they'll need to highlight any hits.
It's kind of cluttered down there under the car with all the mechanical stuff going on, and that'll make it difficult for us to see a bullet hit. So with that in mind, we're putting some clean white foam core under there in the area that we're interested in. And if we see a hole in the foam core, we know we've hit our target.
Fitting the target down the back of the wheel well reveals some unexpected treasure.
They don't pay much on MythBusters, so we take it where we can get it.
$13.70 we found in this car, I swear.
Pizza tonight.
Yeah!
But before the pizza, they've got to test the bullet bounce. So the tow car is hooked up.
Almost time to put the gun in. Gun in!
With the gun loaded, Adam's feeling optimistic.
Gun is hot. Every step of this story, I've been wrong about my intuition. At the beginning, I thought from a physics standpoint, it was quite a stretch. I didn't think bullets would skip off the ground at any significant angle or significant speed, but it turns out both are plausible. Now that we've got all this set up, I have to admit to feelings of true optimism. I feel like we're going to get a successful hit on this one. We are literally on the highway to the danger zone.
Okay, taking off in 3, 2, 1.
As they ride into the danger zone, Jamie guns the car to car chase speed.
45.
And then it's over to Adam for a barrage of bouncing bullets.
All right, firing! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5! Okay, stop! Woohoo! That seemed to work beautifully, dude.
5 bullets bounced, but did any make that mythical target?
Interior inspection. The interior is clean.
No penetration.
No, not that I can see.
Inside the cab, there's no sign of penetration. And a look underneath reveals why.
Look, I can see 4 of the bullets. They just bounced into the swing arm on their way to find the firewall. It's in the way.
Close, but no cigar. Huh?
Exactly.
A close shot. But although the bullets bounced, there was just too much car in the line of fire. But the Mythbusters have come too far to give up after only 1 run. So they reset.
Excellent.
3, 2, 1, go.
And unleash another 5 bullets.
Firing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But once again, they're floored by the floor.
It definitely didn't come through this piece of cardboard.
I have to admit, I'm a little disappointed. After everything that we've learned so far, this seemed so within our grasp, so plausible-like. But it just turns out that there's too much crap underneath this car that is in the bullet's way on its trajectory towards the firewall. And this is the exact same make and model of car that's in the clip we're testing.
Yep, the gun, the car, it all matches. But even though firing point blank at the bottom of the car might work,
Looked like an almost perfect hit.
in reality, a bouncing bullet just doesn't have a clear path through to the wheel well.
Look, in the clip, the guy says this is a reliable technique. You can shoot at the pavement in front of the car and it'll ricochet up into it. It's anything but that. It's ridiculous.
I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed in this one. I was really hoping it would work.
Yeah, but you know what? If you want a non-lethal way of getting a guy to stop following you, you should just shoot the darn tire.
We should totally do that.
Why not?
It's a myth ripped straight from the big screen. Our hero runs from an explosion and at the last second jumps, supposedly surfing the shockwave for a superhuman spring. And despite exploding 10 pounds of C4, 50 feet from Buster, there's been no shockwave surfing. Well, not yet.
For our first experiment, we used 10 pounds of C4. We did see the wave propagate through Buster just as he hit the peak of his jump, exactly where it should have been. Though it did not change the trajectory of the jump, nor the distance that he jumped. So now we're moving on to a low-velocity explosive, ANFO. This should be really interesting.
C4 is a high brisance explosive. It delivers a rapid shock impulse and shatters objects in close proximity. However, ANFO is a low brisance explosive, meaning that it will heave and throw objects. But does that mean that it can heave and throw our commando? Unfortunately for Buster, he's about to find out.
All right, that's 10 pounds of low-velocity explosive ANFO. Here we go.
And even though an ominous fog rolls in, nothing is going to get in the way of finding out if 10 pounds of ANFO will make Buster go the extra distance.
All right, this is 10 pounds of ANFO. Let's see if he rides that shockwave.
In 3, 2, 1, fire!
You can definitely feel that thud. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
The ANFO definitely packed a punch, and the shockwave is clear to see. But did Buster hitch a ride?
All right, what do we get?
27 feet.
That's it? So he didn't go any farther.
It's the same result again. Despite changing explosive, Buster didn't surf the shockwave.
So far, everything we've tried has failed. That's 10 pounds of ANFO, 10 pounds of C4. Neither one has moved him any further than no explosive at all. So next up, we're going to more than double that to 25 pounds. Now, my personal feeling, it's not going to make a difference. I think we're going to need a lot more explosive than that.
Grant's skeptical, but with more than double the ANFO, there's more than double the jeopardy. At least there is for Tori.
The ANFO's in place. The air cannon is loaded. We're about to find out. The shockwave from an explosion can cause an action hero to fly farther than he can jump.
Okay, here we go with 25 pounds of ANFO. Arming. Add in 3, 2, 1, fire.
Whoa! That was a healthy shockwave.
Do you think he jumped further?
I don't know. Let's check the high speed.
That felt good.
Doubling up on the ANFO certainly doubled the thud. But did it pick up Buster along the way?
Okay, and we have 27 again.
So he hasn't moved at all.
Nope.
25 pounds of ANFO and still 27 feet. But as the MythBusters saying goes, it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing with 100 pounds of ANFO. Down at Tracy Airport, the MythBusters are ready to make the rubber meet the round. A bullet bounce into the wheel well is busted, so they're taking aim at the actual wheels.
Now this is a fun way to get to location.
Now in the movies, somebody shoots a tire explodes, and the car spins out of control. Now, I don't know whether that's going to happen or not, but I do know that if you shoot a tire, you are going to put a hole in it, and it will deflate. The real question here is how quickly is that going to happen? Because if it does happen quickly, that's going to be a problem for the driver, and he's going to have a hard time maintaining that pursuit.
It's gonna work perfectly. Now, the rig for this test is pretty straightforward. I have welded a platform to the frame of the car right in front of the tire. I'll attach a loaded pistol with a string that goes from the trigger pull all the way to me in the driver's compartment. When I get this car up to 45 miles an hour and I want to shoot out the tire, I pull the string, pulling the trigger, and put a hole in the tire.
However, Adam's safety is not going to be quite so straightforward. Basically because the gun is going to be mounted in the front of the car facing back, which puts Adam in the line of fire.
Now, we've sought to mitigate this in every way we can conceive of. We've lined the inside and the back of the wheel well with bulletproof vests. In addition, we've lined the engine compartment with several layers of bulletproof vests.
On top of that, we've lined the inside of the car and Adam's seat with bulletproof vests.
Finally, I'll be wearing one. I think we're ready.
Let's do it.
All right.
It's a solution over-engineered to ensure Stuntman Savage doesn't get hurt.
Gearing up to do this story, getting my tire shot out while I'm driving at speed, deeply satisfies the 10-year-old inside of me who always wanted to be an action movie hero. The modern Mythbuster in me has known from the get-go how potentially dangerous this story actually is. Trust me, we have buttoned down every last thing that we could think of to keep it safe.
Here we go, doing it for real, shooting out the wheels.
If this goes the way it does in the movies, this car is going to spin out of control.
All right, everybody, here we go. Shooting out the tire. In 3, 2, 1, here we go.
Once again, Adam gets the car up to the 45-mile-per-hour car chase speed. And then it's over to the bullets.
Here we go, firing.
The bullets take out enough rubber to black out the camera. But when it comes to the car,
I don't notice anything. And this car is still totally within my control. Look, I can actually steer like this, and it's not a problem. This is nothing.
it may be nothing now, but it's just a question of time.
My tire's been shot, and nothing happened. All right, I'm stopping here.
Half a mile down the track, and Adam has no alternative but to stop.
I lived! How does our tire look?
It's flat.
That totally worked.
It wasn't instantaneous, but that'd stop a pursuit.
That would totally put an end to a pursuit.
It might not spin the car out of control Hollywood style, but it's more effective than a bounced bullet at stopping a car.
This one was a little nerve-wracking in the planning stages,
Firing!
but flawless in the execution. I got to the prearranged spot, pulled the string, which pulled the trigger.
Firing!
I heard the gun fire. I did not immediately feel a performance decrease in the car. I was able to drive, but after a few hundred feet, my tire was totally flat. So, skipping bullets off the ground is a reliable technique for stopping a pursuit.
Totally busted. If you're gonna shoot at something, shoot at their tires.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, well, we're not driving.
Yep.
So far, we have thoroughly tested this myth. We have an action hero jumping 50 feet away from an explosion. Our timing has been perfect. We started off with 10 pounds of C4, moved on to 10 pounds of ANFO, then ramped it up to 25 pounds, but still, the shockwave was not enough to push him forward. Now, we're gonna move on to 100 pounds.
4 times the explosive might sound like overkill, but this is a boom or bust test.
So far, we haven't actually seen any extra jump distance. I'm not so sure we're gonna see any with this either. But I'm still crossing my fingers.
Carrie's fingers are crossed, and Tori, well, he's not prepared to give up on the Hollywood legend just yet.
Now, do I think it's gonna make our action hero go farther? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's the kid in me that wants to believe in all these action hero movies that I grew up on. I say yes. I think it's gonna send him a little bit farther.
With a hefty pile of ANFO about to go boom, and the cannon primed, maybe this is what it will take for Buster to hang 10.
Somebody order an explosion?
All right, 100 pounds of ANFO. Will it send the action hero flying, or will he fall flat on his face?
Everybody ready? Okay, here we go. Arming, and in 3, 2, 1, fire.
Dang, that was a big blast. Well,
Nice disc clap.
yeah.
I can't even see him.
All right, as soon as the dust cloud clears, maybe we can see if he went any further.
100 pounds of ANFO had the Mythbusters jumping out of their skin. But did that impressive shockwave send Buster surfing?
We're looking at the same 25
27 feet.
100 pounds of ANFO and he didn't move at all.
27 feet again. I so wanted this to work. I don't know, maybe it's just watching too many action films, but I really wanted this one to happen.
Well, I guess we got no choice but to call this one busted. You can't surf a shockwave.
All right, so this myth is totally busted.
Yeah, but it's got me wondering, do you think there's any way to surf a shockwave?
I don't know. What if we were able to increase your surface area by a huge amount? Maybe having that much more surface area, you might catch the shockwave and push you a little bit further.
So maybe we build something to attach to Buster to act as a shockwave catcher.
Exactly, and I know just what to build it out of.
For his shockwave enhancer, Tori's turning to a combination of the familiar and the bizarre. A steel frame and a blanket?
Now you're probably asking yourself, wait a minute, the blanket is not gonna withstand the blast, and you're right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna spray it with bed liner, because as you remember, bed liner is blast proof.
After a quick spray of bed liner to harden it up, the team is back at the quarry
Giant kite, huh?
We'll see, it's like a big sail.
to give Buster his bomb-proof blanket
That is gorgeous. Let's see if he flies.
for a control test.
In 3, 2, 1, fire.
Perfect.
The heavier rig has Buster flying a slightly shorter 23 feet. But will the explosion fling him further?
This is it, the final experiment to see if a man can ride a shockwave. Everything's staying the same. We're using 100 pounds of ANFO. The explosion is gonna be 50 feet away from the jumping man, and he is gonna jump a half second before the explosion goes off. The only thing that is changing is we are strapping a sail to his back. That added surface area might give us the edge we need to get him to jump further. Let's see if that works.
All will be revealed, but Grant still thinks it could be a long shot.
Okay, so here's the thing. The reason why I think Buster hasn't jumped much further so far is because while the shockwave moves very quickly, it only moves a relatively small amount of air, a layer perhaps 12 inches thick. And that's not enough force to push him any further. Now this rig has the advantage of having a lot of surface area to catch a shockwave, but unfortunately, it adds a lot of weight. And so the net result, I think, is that he's not gonna go much further.
Well, with 100 pounds of ANFO set to detonate, will that extra surface area finally get Buster surfing the shockwave?
All right, this is the final experiment for riding a shockwave, this time with the sail. In 3, 2, 1, firing. Wow, I never get tired of that.
I can't tell what happens.
The cannon triggered. The ANFO went off, and it seems as though the shockwave did in fact give Buster a boost. But did he travel any further?
5 feet,
I can't wait to see if it worked.
10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet, 23 feet.
What? He didn't go any further at all. That was the same as the control test.
Okay, we gave it everything we got. And we still didn't get that Hollywood-style jump and then just blow up.
All right, well, I guess it's busted. I'm a little disappointed in Hollywood.
All right, busted.
Busted. Again. And that was so cool to watch him jump through the air and the explosion going off.
Yeah, you know what? Being an action hero is a tough job.